Greetings, fellow traders. Jason here on a beautiful Monday night, August 21st, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hope everything's coming through okay for you. Yeah, it should be looking all right. Cool. I don't know why my video is a little fuzzy, but it'll work. It'll work for now, no problem. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Give me a little thumbs up if you can hear me coming through okay. Good deal night. I posted a little note about Aussie, New Zealand, the iron ore, giving the Aussie bulls the green light. Is it going to need two-part? I'm going to post a link. Donald Trump speaking live right now. I believe he's speaking about the war effort out in Afghanistan. I think he's going to be sending more troops there. I believe what's going on. So I'm going to shrink that down, and then we'll get down to business. Stock markets today pretty flat, right? I mean, stock markets were pretty flat. Let me turn this light down a little bit. I think I'm a little bit. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. Got sort of an orange hue. Stock market's pretty flat today. The Dow was up 29, Nasdaq down 3, S&P up 3 points. Nothing crazy as far as the stock market goes. Hello there. I think it's Mady. Nice to see you. Before I switch over to my charts, I want to show you this. Sort of interesting here. I don't know if you saw this or not. Goldman Sachs CEO Lloyd Blankfein, with his take on the solar eclipse Monday, he said, "Wish the moon wasn't the only thing casting a shadow across the country. We got through one, we'll get through another. Hashtag solar eclipse." Man, that's pretty hardcore anti-Trump post there. So that was making the rounds today. I don't know if you caught it or not, but pretty interesting stuff. There's always something interesting going on, right? Especially with Trump politics. You know, being an eye doctor myself, I don't know if you saw the little clip of Trump looking up at the eclipse without safety glasses on today. Interesting. So let's take a look at some of the charts. There we go. If you're new to watching these streams, generally I have a lot of energy and momentum and passion here, but today's been one of the hardest days I had probably this year. A lot of stuff going on, and my brain's pretty cooked. But I wanted to at least chime in here and do this little Asian review with you, maybe help you go over a couple setups, see what kind of market volatility is going to be in store for this Asian session. I think that, you know, looking across the general news wires here, as far as predicted news like Forex Factory and the economic calendar here at Forex Signals, pretty quiet news here across the evening. Great British Pound has some public sector net borrowing, moderate news, and some moderate news out of the Eurozone as well at 4 a.m. The big news tomorrow, and really the only high impact news release that we have tomorrow, is out of the Canadian dollar, their core retail sales. And that could be a pretty big mover for the Canadian dollar. So we'll take a look at that in a moment. Looking at our momentum meter here across the board, we can see the USD is the weakest currency across the board. 5, 15, 1 hour, 4 hour, and daily. And the euro and the CAD are sort of tied here as far as the indicator goes for the strongest. We also see some weakness coming out of the yen. The thing to remember is that the euro has been up for a while here, and it's sort of planing off. Again, if you're new to this, this is the divergence from the 20 moving average. And the lowest currency that we have here is the Japanese yen. It's really under a lot of pressure. Even if we pull up to the 4 hour, the Japanese yen is definitely, you know, falling the furthest from all the currencies. The weakest currency down here, though, is still the USD. So let's take a look at the charts, see if we can make some of this into some trades that can make us some money. All right. So starting with what? Let's start with gold. You might recall the last week when I did the stream, I think it was Thursday or Friday. Again, I'm filling in here basically for a few streams as Andrew's still gone for a couple of weeks. Tony's going to be coming on a little bit later as well. And then I'll be doing 2 streams tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central and 8 p.m. Central. And then a couple more on Thursday. But gold, we had seen this coming up to our gray area of resistance. 1296 up to the high, of course, of 1300. We really just touched that area. Interesting, if you look at the top of this wick on the daily, this wick right here, 1383, at least on this broker. 1383 cents. Hard price rejection, and now we're pushing back up to that area. So the question is, where is gold going to go? I mean, my bias is to the downside. I'd like to see gold come down a little bit. I'm almost ready to take a trade on this. And we sort of have a head and shoulders pattern here on the hourly. Taking a short on gold, I don't think would be the worst play. Let's take a look around the markets, though. Because of the day that I had today, and I do apologize because I try to be very thorough and energetic about my trading, but because of the day that I had today, what I'm going to do is just sort of go through things with you here in real time. We had, let me pull this out on silver. We had the trade, at least I posted a trade idea to sell silver, and I let it run, and then I posted in the trade idea that I had pulled stops back to 1714, and those stops were hit, but it was a small loss. I think what was it, 4 cents or something like that. I think it cost me $200, something like that. So it wasn't a big thing. Didn't get down to our target. But if you had a pick between selling gold and selling silver, I'm still biased towards selling silver. I mean, this pattern that we're starting to see here, you can see it a little bit better on the daily, perhaps, or the hourly. We're starting to put in these lower highs here on silver, and I think that overall the momentum, if you look at this very ugly cross section here I'm drawing, is to the downside on silver. So I like a short on silver here. We're right at 16.99 basically. I think the silver's starting to get a little bit burnt out. And if we take a peek at the US dollar index, you can see what's going on there. 92.99, basically sitting at 93. So dollar's under a lot of pressure. And the reason I'm not in the silver trade or the gold trade is that the dollar is under a lot of pressure here for the last few hours. Actually, it's been all the way back about 8 hours now, 8-9 hours, that the dollar has been under some pretty hardcore pressure. And generally speaking, the weaker the dollar gets, the higher gold and silver get. And that really hasn't been the case. So we're seeing a little bit of divergence in the price action here. So which one's going to give first? We'll have to see. Time will tell. Crude, sort of mixed. Crude pushed down as the dollar did as well, and now it's sort of pushed back up to 47.70. Again, don't forget where you are on the daily time frame. We're sort of sitting in this nowhere never land. I'm not that excited about crude. Very hard pattern to trade here, with regression back to the mean on crude. So I'm going to come up with a couple decent trade ideas here for you and probably get some trade ideas posted, depending on what will happen. Let's take a look at the Aussie dollar. This is one we talked about quite a bit last week. I don't know why this looks so bright here, but every once in a while I look up at my video and I see how bright it looks. There we go. I think that's all right there. So we had this sort of imperfect descending channel, and we were looking for price action to pull back down to 78.53. And if we pump it up to the hourly, you can see we got somewhere, we got close, 78.70. You know, we were 15 pips away. I had this short all the way through, and then I posted in the trade idea to move stops down, and I moved it down to 79.12 and basically came out with 2 pips on this trade. I wasn't able to get out of the trade. Either I was gone or it was overnight. I forget exactly what it was. But I did move my stop down to roughly break even. And so this trade made a couple pips, but obviously that's not the point. We wanted it to run down to 78.53. I would have pulled the stop down a little bit lower if I would have been around on these lower candles, but I wasn't there. But still not a loss. Okay with that. Now where's it going to go from here? I mean, Aussie buck has really broken out. I mean, we know the USD is under pressure. We know there's some positivity coming out with iron ore prices. I think they were up 2-point-some% out of Australia, which can really help the Australian currency. So could the Aussie break out to the upside here? You know, this little move up, even though it looks fairly impressive, it's only about 10 pips, maybe 12 pips. So I'm not really convinced yet. I mean, those of you who know me good enough know that I don't sit on my hands too often here. I mean, I get in a bunch of trades just like everybody else, but I'm really not convinced that the Aussie dollar is going to break out to the upside unless we can get above this swing high, which is about 79.62, 79.63. And that's roughly 16 points up from this point. If we can break out above 79.63, I think, you know, game is over. Aussie dollar could pull up. If we don't, then I'm going to be looking to get short. So the question that you might ask yourself is, well, if we're not in right now, where do we go? And to be honest, this is indecision right here. I mean, we're under resistance. We're above support. We can see this sort of internal trend line here. If I stretch this out just a little bit, you can see this sort of imperfect internal trend line here. So I'd be looking to get short on the Aussie buck if we can break down beneath this price point here. We get down to 79.30 or lower, call it 79.27. Then I think the Aussie dollar could move down. Move this back up here a little bit. To the upside, I think that if I were going to trade dollar weakness, I would not probably pick the Aussie to move up. I'd be looking at something stronger. Like possibly the euro. Maybe the pound. The euro, we had a couple nice trades on here a couple weeks ago. Picked up a nice one, 60 pips. We're sitting at 118.20. The question is, you know, are we going to continue to push up or not? So again, you can bear with me on this Asian session review stream here on this Monday evening. I'm just sort of thinking out loud of my thoughts as I go through. It just doesn't look real good to me here either. I mean, it looks better to the upside, don't get me wrong. But there's just a lot of resistance here. We'll continue with the uptrend that we've been in for quite a while. Let's take a peek at the pound for a moment. 129.06, 129.07. You might remember this trend line here. I guess I can shrink my video down just a little bit. You might remember this trend line right here that broke, retested, and then pushed lower and lower and lower. And again, always remember to zoom out and take a look at where you are in the longer term time frames, so you don't forget where you are. So we never did quite make it down to this longer term support that was put in on July 12th. That was at 128.11, 128.10. Made it by about 20 pips, 20 pips away. And you can probably feel my mixed emotions here on this as well. I mean, we've broken this uptrend here on the 4-hour. We pushed down, consolidated, pushed down, consolidated, tried to push lower, had rejection, made slightly higher highs, and you know, I'm biased to the upside right now. I like the strength of the pound a little bit more than the strength of the euro or the Aussie. Just marking up my charts here a little bit, guys and girls. I really feel like the euro pound is due for a pullback. I had that trade idea here the other day that hit its stop right at this tip here, right where we are now. I think it was 91.50 if I remember correctly. 91.60. And if you saw that trade idea, you had hopefully read the notes that I wrote on there. I cut my risk down by half because it's a very risky trade. You know, it's basically a counter trend trade, straightforward. And I wanted to wait until Monday morning to take the trade, but I wouldn't be around in front of my computer to do it. So I took it Sunday evening, and it hit the stop rate at 91.60, which is right up at the tip here. So even though the chart looks like it's going straight up, I still feel, basically because of the longer term views here and some fundamental analysis, that the euro pound could push down a little bit more. Now, at this point, I'm not prepared to take it long, but I would be prepared to take the pound dollar long and possibly the pound yen long. So let's take a look at pound yen. I'm going to get rid of these arrows here. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Trump's announcement. I also see another, it says Yonhap report. This is out a few minutes ago, or maybe 20 minutes ago. Top U.S. military commanders issue warning to North Korea. Top 3 U.S. military commanders plan to issue a strong warning to North Korea in a rare joint press conference. So when I see things like that, like Afghanistan and Korea and global unrest, I see yen strength coming in, which would pull the yen pairs down. Let's see, later today, this is going to be a joint press conference. It says Pacific Command Chief Harry Harris and Strategic Command Head General John Hyten and Missile Defense Agency Lieutenant General Samuel Greaves are scheduled to hold a press conference at a local U.S. Forces Korea base. This is an unusual exercise and reflects Washington's alertness against North Korea's. This trio is likely to warn Kim Jong-un against miscalculating the U.S. defense capabilities. All right. So I'm not sure if that's really going to shake up anything in the markets, but I mean, who knows, right? We don't know. I don't know. You don't know for sure. However, what do we do on the pound yen? Do we continue to sell, or do we look at some possible pound strength coming in and some possible yen weakness coming in and try to get on the train, you know, moving north? So my bias on the pound yen and on the pound dollar are both to the upside. Again, I'm looking at possibly taking a short on silver, but the US dollar index is really starting to tip down. You can even see here on the 5-minute time frame, you know, the dollar index is starting to really push under pressure. We're going to have to see if the support holds up around 92.90s. The next strong support that we have is really all the way down at 91.87 on the US dollar. All right. Hello, Julman. How's it going? JG Scalper, how's it going with you? Stay. Jenny, what's up? So this is a little bit different stream than I usually do. Tomorrow's streams will be back to my more quote-unquote sort of normal stream. But this is more of me analyzing things, you know, thinking in real time. I don't have any trades live right now for a couple of reasons. One, I wasn't here to do it. But two, wasn't really convinced either way. But I am going to take a trade here. On silver, and maybe another one in a moment. Let's get this set up here. Now I might move this target down a little bit lower. All right, so we have one short on silver here. If you're interested in silver, some people aren't really into silver that much, so I understand. But if you're interested in it, my stop's at 17.28. My entry is right here, market price live. We'll call it 16.98, give or take your spread, however much that might be. And my target is down here at 16.45, 16.46. So I'm looking on a 4-hour time frame for this baby to move down a little bit. Do its little retracement that it always does, usually does, and then push back down to the target. We have some resistance, of course, coming up. That's pretty apparent here, right in this area. But based on what I know about silver, I don't think we're going to have too much trouble. If we break beneath 1680s, I think we're going to push right down all the way through. So I may want to move my targets down more on silver, depending on how things set up and how the US dollar holds. So we're going to tuck that one away. Dollar CAD, another interesting one, right? I mean, very interesting. I had a buy order here. This is back on August 17th. Took about 10 pips out of it. Closed on August 18th. And really collapsed. So it's one of those things where you have a, you know, an upward pressure like on the dollar CAD, and you can still take a little bit of profits if you're not too afraid to move your stops up. Now, this was done because of the pending news that was coming up shortly thereafter, and you can see what happened to it. Just hammered it straight down. So I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay though with is getting too into the Canadian dollar trade before the retail sales data comes out tomorrow morning. That's only about 11 hours from now. I'd really like to buy pound yen, maybe euro yen, but I don't know. I got this sort of inkling that we might be hearing something coming out of Trump or out of North Korea. I just been, you know, rather be on the right side of those things, obviously. And I'm not entirely convinced that the dollar index is going to collapse right here. Just not entirely convinced. I mean, obviously it's under pressure. This little box right here has me sort of concerned. You know, is it going to go to the upside? Is it going to go to the downside? I mean, obviously we don't know for sure, but I think that this is a pretty extended move. We may see a little bit of a retracement, which would help silver and gold push down. Perhaps dollar yen is a better trade to take to the upside at 109.22 currently. Obviously up on some pretty intense support. 108.60s, 108.70s. Just very mixed on that. Very mixed on that one. So if you listen to any of my lessons in the past, you know that one of my goals of being a streamer here is to share the knowledge that I have Some of you may have more knowledge than me in a lot of areas, but just to share what I have, and also try to get you to save some money and not waste it on things. And the old me, years and years ago, would be saying, okay, I'm going to buy this pound dollar long. I'm going to get in on the pound yen right now. And I wouldn't call it the new me, but the me that's been this way for years now is just a little bit more conservative, and in finding that it pays off in spades, because I don't get worked up at all or worried about missing a trade. I get more concerned and analytical about losing a trade. So if the pound dollar pushes up here, or the pound yen pushes up for 50 pips and I miss it, it really doesn't get to me. But if I buy it, knowing that there's levels like on this pound dollar here, if I bought the pound dollar, knowing that we still have several levels of pretty noticeable resistance coming up in the next 10 pips, knowing that the US dollar index could bounce right off of this 93 level, and I buy it anyway and then I'm wrong, then I'm a little bit more rough on myself, because I didn't really stick to the rules of the game. Silver for me is a little bit more clean. It might not look clean to you, it might look clean to you, but just my own strategies, it looks pretty good. Gold is looking better now to short, of course, as it's coming down a little. EuroCAD, took a nice clean trade on that earlier, 88 pips. That was last week on the 15th through the 16th. If you just look at this pattern that we have here on the EuroCAD, and you take a peek at this area right here, I mean, this area has a lot of significance, doesn't it? We have a support back on August 2nd, August 4th, August 8th, August 17th. We broke impulsively through over 100 pips, came right back, overshot, broke through, came back, broke through, came back, overshot, and now we're sitting. So, you know, what does that tell you? To me, this is that whole recoiling snake phenomenon, that the longer it sits right attached to these areas, the stronger the move is going to be. And which way is it going to be? I mean, this is 148.43 all the way down to 148.33, so about a 10 pip range here, and we're sitting right dead in the center of it. So which way is it going to go? I mean, as you can tell, I'm mixed. I mean, it's okay to be mixed. And take a look at this, that gray line we just drew in here on the 4 hour. You can pump that thing all the way back here. We had it here, we had it here. I don't trade the EuroCAD very much, but those who trade it, 148.30 to 148.42, very, very important level, at least in the last couple of months. And here it was again, back on May 10th and 11th. Same exact area, right in this area. Which way could it go? Either way, I'm going to have to leave that up to you to decide. I mean, up or down. Maybe do what we're going to do on the dollar CAD and just wait until the retail sales come out at 7:30, which is about 11 hours from now, whatever time zone you're in. Again, it doesn't make you a weak trader or a bad trader if you don't have trades all going and you're not quite sure if you're really into one or not. I like silver to the downside. I like pound dollar and pound yen to the upside. I also like dollar yen to the upside. So that would be my trade plans if you had to get into a trade and you needed to get into a trade. You couldn't wait to get into a trade. And that's what I'd be looking at. Pound dollar long, pound yen long, dollar yen long, and silver short. I'm just putting a little price hash mark here just to remind myself where I'm looking. Not in these yet. Just got a little Trump news over the wires. I mean, if you're watching this live, you've seen it already, but it says President Trump speaking on U.S. Afghanistan strategy will not talk about the number of troops or plans for further military activities. Conditions on the ground, not arbitrary timetables, will guide our strategy. He's been talking for a while with more to come, but that's the gist of it. All right. Max Pro 007. What's going on, man? I haven't talked to you for a long time. Again, if you missed the beginning of the stream, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm a little out of it today, a little tired. It was a really long day, probably my longest day of the year with a lot of things. And my energy is a little bit down here. But nonetheless, I look at the trades every day at least a couple of times, whether or not I'm streaming or anything, because that's how I trade. EuroCAD's really mixed, Max Pro. I mean, it's interesting that you asked me that. I think that was about 10 minutes ago. And Earbus is saying dollar CAD is best looking chart now, weekly, daily, monthly. Let's take a look at it. Monthly, let's see what we have here. I think I'm going to clean up everything on here. Yeah, let's just dump it all. So here's the dollar CAD monthly chart. I'll shrink it a little bit. Dollar CAD weekly chart. Daily chart. Four-hour. So Earbus, he said the dollar CAD's the best looking chart right now. I'm assuming you're selling it. On an intraday basis, just looking at the next 6 hours to 12 hours, I think we may see a little pullback, maybe 15, 20, 25 pips. But again, from what I've been reading around the wires, and I always look at different blog sites and news feeds and things, I feel like the news tomorrow on retail sales is going to be a big one for Canada. Not only that, it's the only high impact news release tomorrow across the board. Yes, safe for you to buy. Now I made a call. Cool. I mean, crude is very mixed. I'm liking yen weakness to come back in. That's what I'm looking at. Let me get back to this. Where is it? Here it is. I'm liking to see yen weakness fill up here. The 5, 15, 1 hour, 4 hour, and daily. We have the daily left to go. If we pull this out to the daily, I don't know if you have this momentum meter or not on your charts, but the Japanese yen, it's sort of hard to see here, but I'll just trace it with my crosshairs. It was all the way down right at the beginning of July. And it pushed all the way up. It's a very sort of faint line here. Pushed all the way up, all the way up, all the way up through August 10th. Again, this is just a moving average, a divergence from the 20. Now it's pulling back. And I would like the dollar yen to pull back down even a little bit further, closer to the 20 moving average. That weaker yen currency, even in the next couple hours, few hours, would really help me with my confidence to be buying the dollar yen and the pound yen. We can see on the 4 hour, it has already crossed the 20, but not on the daily here. On the 1 hour, it's just fallen off a cliff. You know, with with Trump talking, though, you never know. I think I told you all one of my biggest pet peeves when I spent thousands of dollars on Forex courses years ago. One of my biggest pet peeves was, these traders would just analyze things, and they'd wait and they'd say, well, we're going to see, and maybe this is a correction, and maybe it's wave 3 of a wave 1 and an ABC correction off the 5th wave, and this resistance on the weekly is coming up, and it was just blah blah blah, and they never did anything, and it drove me nuts. I was like, anybody could do that, just ramble about the hindsight of what's going on in the markets. So being able to talk through it live, I think, is a good thing, but you have to take action eventually or you won't make any money. But I'm telling you the reasons why I'm not totally sold on buying one of the yen crosses right now. Even though they look quite good technically, I'm just not quite convinced enough. And there's enough reasons for me to wait. Again, the old me would just say, buy it. It's breaking out a little bit, buy it. But if you're scalping it, it's fine. I mean, that's the one thing to remember. There's people in this room and people watching this that are trading off the tick charts and the 1 minute and the 5 minute. Totally different ball game, right? Than trading off the hourly. You could trade, totally different fashion here if you're trading the pound yen on the 5 minute chart, for example, or even the 1 minute time frame. You could be trading breakouts, and there's a lot of things going on. But most people don't trade full time. The people that do already know this stuff, a lot of it anyway. But I prefer the 1 hour time frame. Going down to the 15, looking at the longer ones for overall bearings and bias in the market. And to be brutally honest, this is what I do. I mean, I look at these charts, I make a mental note of the reasons why I should buy, why I should sell, where the long-term time frames are, what news is coming up, the overall fundamental feel in the markets. I'm aware of the high-impact news releases. I'm also aware of things that are going on now, like Trump speaking, for example. I've looked around a couple different forums, a couple different rooms, seeing what people are thinking. So I'm not missing anything that's obvious. And you just do your technical analysis. And you look at where things are. I mean, it's not too hard to see that the euro pound is in some indecision now for the last 10, 11, 12 hours. It's in a 7 pip range. So that tells you the story. That at least right now in the short term, the momentum upwards from buyers is starting to fade. But there's still not a lot of downward pressure from sellers. We can see the weekly, we've had 1, 2, 3. We're working on our 4th week here of upward momentum on the euro pound. And on the monthly, we have even more. 4 straight months of blue candles. And there's a lot of power to that. Even with regards to the euro dollar and pound dollar themselves. So I give you my overall bias. I only have one trade going, that's a short in silver. Is it going SEDA? SEDA? I need a phonetic on that one, how to pronounce it. SYEDA. Nice. U.S. Defense Secretary Mattis, Joint Chiefs head to prepare to carry out Trump strategy. But we don't know exactly what that is yet. Cool. All right, guys and girls, I think I'm going to leave it at that for now. If I get a good trade idea or two, I will post them in the room tonight. And the whole day tomorrow, I'm going to be here doing a couple live streams. I'll be in the chat room more, literally the whole day, with maybe the exception of an hour or two. I'm going to be right around my charts all day. So feel free to send me a message, jason@forexsignals.com. And if you need something, hit me up in the chat room. You can private message me there as well. And we'll go from there. Hope you have a great night. I know it's not too exciting, but sometimes it's better to be a little bit safe. You know, like this pound dollar. It's coming down now pretty hard, isn't it? Down 10 pips. So at least right now, I'm happy I didn't pull the trigger yet. So sometimes it pays off. Just be a little patient. Asian session, sometimes not the craziest. Get a little more movement in the yen pairs, USD, that kind of thing. So I'll see you tomorrow. Make it a great day, and hopefully we'll have some pips to talk about tomorrow morning. Take care.